if you want to get more energy, if you want to have more mental clarity, if you want to have better muscular function, there is one thing that makes a massive difference. And a lot of the people that I see aren't doing this one simple thing. So if that's you, if you want those things, this video is for you. I'm Dr. Jeff Cumro, and over the past 15 years, I've been blessed to work with over 5,000 patients. And ultimately through that journey, I have heard, I drink plenty of water many, many times. And ultimately what comes down to what is plenty of water, what is considered the best type of water, and then what activities does water do. And we're going to go in reverse order in that. We're going to talk about what water does, why it is so important. Then we're going to talk about what kind of water is going to be best, and then we'll finish up with how much water you actually need, which is going to be a little bit different for everybody. So stick around to the end. It is not the standard 8 cups of water per day. That's not enough for most people. So ultimately, when we look at hydration, it plays a very, very important role in health. And there's two major roles that this plays. So the first one is detoxification. If we can't get toxins out of the body, they sit in the body and they cause problems, right? And that's a pretty obvious thing. If you have all sorts of trash that you're producing, the trash guy never comes to pick it up. Sooner or later, that trash starts to accumulate. It starts to smell. It attracts, rats and bugs and all these other things that you don't want around the house. And other issues start to add up. You start to have negative health consequences. And the same thing happens within your body. If you have those, ultimately, all of our processes in our body create waste, right? But we are exposed to more toxicity than in any society throughout history. We have all of these other things that are added into that. So it accumulates faster. And if we can't detoxify things, then it starts to add up and change our health in a lot of ways. And if you imagine this, and a good example of this would be a river that runs through a lot of the cities in the US. You can see, you've got your water down here, and you've got, really the banks up in here. So, if you're looking at this at a distance, it comes down in these ways. So this is basically upward, and you got it on both sides. So not the best drawing, but you can get the picture here. So what happens in a lot of these cities is we start to get trash accumulated all across all this other stuff. And you've probably seen this driving through any of the major roadways in a city. You cross a river and there's a bunch of trash built up in there. And when we have poor flow of fluid through our lymph, we end up with just a little stream through the middle here. And it's not taking care of any of this waste or anything like that. So that waste starts to build up and it gets more and more problematic. And sooner or later, what's going to happen is you're going to get a big rain, and that water level is going to rise, and the water's going to come up here and here on both sides. It's going to wash all this junk out, right? So next time you go by there, you're not going to have all of that junk in there. You're going to have all of that stuff cleaned out. And that's ultimately what's going on with our detox system. If we have too much junk, or if we don't have enough flow in there, we build that junk up. It starts to just affect health in multiple ways. A good example of this is many heart attacks are actually associated with poor lymphatic flow. If you can't get that junk out of there, you get an arterial spasm, it squeezes down, and you end up with a heart attack or heart problems in some way, shape, or form. So cholesterol buildup, same way. If we can't get that everything flushed out through that lymphatic system, we get cholesterol built up, and we have extra plaquing throughout the body. That's not just in the cardiac vessels. So it's something that plays a role in our health throughout the system. Now, ultimately, when we look at this lymphatic flow, how much of this we're getting through here, great determiner of our metabolic or of our immune capacity, right? Because if we have all of this junk in there and we're able to get it out of the system, if we're able to detoxify our system the way that we're supposed to, not only do we decrease inflammation, but we improve our overall communication between things because we don't have as much junk that's interfering with it, and we end up with a cleaner overall system. So less buildup, less flow issues, and better overall health. This isn't the only way that lymphatic flow plays a role in things. When we start to really look at things, one of the bigger areas that we have problems with is not so much just the heart, but it's also the brain, right? And when we sleep is when a lot of that happens in the brain. So when we fall asleep, we actually see an expansion of those blood vessels. The lymphatic system basically comes in and they clean out all the junk in there. And if you look at dementia, if you look at Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, different things like that, you get proteins that are built up in this system. And ultimately what this lymphatic flow is supposed to do at night is it opens up, it allows for a big flushing of all of that system, cleaning it out and allowing the next processes to take place. So that's basically the immune system coming in and taking care of itself. But we have to have proper sleep for that to happen, right? Hydration is a big determiner of sleep. So if you are having problems with sleep, one of the easiest ways is sometimes to drink more water. Now, obviously, some populations, you have to be careful with that. So talk to your doctor before you start doing this, but start bumping up your water if you're able to. And a lot of times that hydration is going to help you sleep, as ironic as that is. I talk to so many people that are nervous to do this because they're like, if I increase my hydration, I'm gonna be up all night going to the bathroom. And in the short term, you may notice that, but as you get more hydrated, a lot of people will actually notice that they start to sleep better and they get up less frequently. As ironic as that is, as counterintuitive as that is, they start to notice that that is the actual effect. So clearing out all the junk is something that is very, very important, not just for your brain, but also for your body. And this is part of the reason that hydration is actually going to improve some of the functionality, right? Because like I said, if we don't have as much junk in there, the communication becomes more clear. As that communication becomes more clear, we're able to, get the whatever type of output we need for the current environment that we're in. So, if we need better brain function or different immune function or whatever else, we're able to actually extrapolate what we need for the current situation that we're facing and pull that forward. So that's number one. It is also going to help with energy on multiple fronts too. First of all, this increase in hydration is going to help to improve nutrient flow, right? It helps to get the nutrients where they need to go. It helps get the waste products out. So in both ways, it's going to help there. But if you look at a battery, so a battery is a good example for this. So once again, we'll draw this and we'll do it over here. If you look at a car battery, you got your square, you got your top, and you got your posts up there. And it doesn't matter, whichever one, positive, negative, or whatever. If we open up our battery, what we have is a bunch of water sitting in there, right? And as long as we have that water, we have a flow of electricity. Those ions go from one pole to the other. What happens when we start to run out of water on this? We start to get low in the water. We can't recharge that battery because we don't have that consistent flow from post to post. As we decrease that flow, we decrease the charge that battery has, right? Same type of thing happens in our body. If we can't conduct the electricity that we need, we are electrical beings. And the way that a lot of that electricity is transported is through water. You have to have a conductor, right? So if we look at it like this battery, if you get dehydrated, you don't conduct that energy as well as you should, and you decrease muscular function, and you decrease brain function, you decrease all of these other systems that go into this. So hydration is one of the easiest ways to improve your overall health. If you're looking for one thing that you can do to kind of move things forward, this can have an impact on a lot of things. It helps to regulate body temperature. It helps to decrease the risk of heart attacks. It helps with mental clarity and energy production. It can help with sleep. It can help with all of these systems at once. So it's a big, big thing. So what type of water should we look at to actually get the best health benefits? And there's two different camps on this. So the filtered water is stereotypically going to be better because you take a lot of the junk out. I personally like reverse osmosis water because it takes out a lot of the pesticides, it takes out a lot of the antibiotics, it takes out a lot of the other junk. However, when we look at this type of water, it is basically dead water. You're not getting some of the bacteria that's in there, some of the different things that make water quote unquote alive. You're taking out some of that actual characteristics that can change it. So taking it through a couple extra steps and doing the alkalization and different things like that can help to balance this out, put the minerals back in to be a more productive state for you. Other camp says that putting it through basically what it does is it spins it under light and it recharges it. And ultimately what those people say, it helps to make deuterium depleted water. And that deuterium depleted water is what it's ultimately metabolic water, right? It's what your body is making. So as your body takes in hydrogen, as your body takes in oxygen, the byproduct of energy production is water. And that's a good thing. It's something that we need. So drinking is not the only way that we get water. We have to have all of these other things working properly to properly hydrate things. And some people say that deuterium depleted water is going to be a better source. Now, it's not easy to find. Sometimes those things can be a little bit more cost prohibitive. And I'm not totally sold on some of the technology that's out there. There's a lot of things that advertise that they do that process where they spin it under light. I'm not 100% sold on some of those products that are out there because there are a lot of people that are trying to take advantage of health trends. They make it as cheaply as possible. It doesn't really have the effects, and they're trying to sell it for a premium price. So buyer beware on some of that stuff. How much water do you need? And this is one that's going to be variable for each different person. So a good line of thought on this, one of the guidelines that I go by is 0.8 ounces per pound of body weight. And this is going to depend. Like I said, some people don't want to take in extra water. If you're on a diuretic, talk to your doctor. Make sure that it's going to be okay. If you're on anything for your kidney medicine or you have decreased kidney function, we need to make sure that it's going to be safe for you to actually do this. So have a discussion with your pharmacist, have a discussion with your doctor, and get a better idea before you actually start doing this. But if we do 0.8 ounces per pound of body weight, then that gives us a pretty good place to start. Now, the average person says 8 ounces, I can't speak, 8 ounce cups of water per day, right? That's 64 ounces. If we look at this for somebody who is 100 pounds, this is going to be 80 ounces of water, right? If we look at 200 pounds, this is going to be 160 ounces of water. So it's totally different per person, but this gives you a little bit better way to start to narrow this down. Now, there are a lot of things that go into account here. You know, sometimes you're going to have to add some mineralization to that. So adding some trace minerals to your diet may be something that can be good. There are different kinds of salts that can do that. There are different supplements that you can use to do that, but a lot of times they will help you hydrate better. Amount of activity plays a very big role in this. Amount of caffeine that you take in, or other things that are dehydrating to your system. The type of job you do, like the amount of heat exposure, the amount of energy that you're expending, different things like that all affect this. So this is just a good round number to figure out what you need to hydrate yourself, to give yourself the best bang for your buck. But again, when we review this, we're looking at what is one of the easiest ways that you can do this? And a lot of people aren't getting enough water. I ask people all the time, and I ask them very specifically how many ounces of water they're getting. Because when I say, are you getting enough water? Most people are like, yeah, I drink plenty of water. How much water are you getting? I get like 30, 32, 36 ounces a day. That's dehydration. That is the picture of dehydration right there. We've got to be getting enough water. And it's not just going to the bathroom and looking to see, is it yellow? Is it clear? It's actually working to get some of these trace minerals balanced out. It's working to get those electrolytes to work in your favor. And everybody is a little bit different on that. So every once in a while, running a panel to figure out, are you getting the nutrients that you need into your cells, can absolutely be something that is going to help you take that next step in your health. As always, if you have questions on this, send me a message and let me know, hey, this is my situation. What do I need to look for? Where can I start? Obviously, if we don't have a previous relationship, it makes it much more difficult to give guided. So keep that in mind that, speak to your doctor and get things that are personalized to you. But as always, I appreciate you guys logging into this. I know that your time and your attention are your most valuable resources. I appreciate you spending some of that with me. I hope that this helps with your health, and I can't wait to see you on next week's video.